Moving over to the West, number one, San Antonio. They're another team that has kind of quietly surprised the league to get that top seed. They're matched up against Utah. Anything?
The Spurs do this every year. I know if you watched the American last week, every year for the last dozen or so years, I write the same column in the American. The Spurs are the team that nobody talks about because they're not sexy. They're fundamentally sound. They're in that small market. They just go about the business of winning. There's not a lot of drama. And even during the Shaq, Kobe era, all the things were happening back then. I said, watch out for the Spurs. Now this year it's about LeBron and the Heat, what's going on in New York, Kobe making his run, the Oklahoma City boys. But once again, the Spurs emerge as the top team in the West. And they've done it, as we talked about, reinventing themselves. Remember, the Spurs were a defensive dynasty with Duncan blocking shots, Robinson, Bruce Bowen, and they just defended and could score. Now they're one of the top offensive teams in the league. Tony Parker has really become one of the best players in the league now. Had one of his best seasons with the points and assists. Ginobili's healthy. Duncan is rejuvenated at 36 years old. But now they've got some young guys. Kawhi Leonard's been one of the top rookies in the league. Danny Green can shoot it. Gary Neal can shoot it, although he's been injured. Steven Jackson has come back. So they got a ton of guys who can shoot the basketball. And then, DeJuan Blair and Tiago Splitter have really given them some inside thrust. So they're deep. They can shoot the basketball. They got the best coach in the league, in my opinion, in Greg Popovich. And they're definitely a threat. Now, we have to see, are they the favorite? Like 4, 5, 6 years ago, they'd be, if they're in this position, they'd be the odds-on favorite to win the NBA championship, no doubt. But even with the great record, you still got a lot of young guys who don't have that experience in the playoffs. And last year, they were in this position last year, although Snow was injured. Memphis knocked them off in the first round. I know they want to get the taste out of their mouth and get to that next round and beating a good Utah team who's got good inside strength with Millsap, Al Jefferson, inside Derek Favors. That's their one advantage if they're going to give the Spurs a challenge to get the ball inside to those big guys.
Okay. And the 2-7 matchup, we see a rematch of the Western Conference Finals from last year. Oklahoma City Thunder, they're the 2 seed. Dallas Mavericks are the 7 seed. How do you see that playing out? I think that looking at the beginning of the year, and Dallas is my favorite team, as a lot of people know, but when they let Tyson Chandler go, I knew that was going to be trouble, and I know it was done to save cap room for next year. But how has Tyson Chandler's departure hurt Dallas, and will that kill them or prevent them from beating Oklahoma City in this first
I think so. You lose he's a defensive force, and he scores off the alley-oop dunks, but he just closes off the middle. And I can see what Mark Cuban is doing. If he's playing for the future and trying to make another run. It's almost like he gave this year up a little bit. You lose Barea, but you lose Chandler because he's making a run for Darren Williams for next year and get under the cap space and make another run in Dirk's declining years in the league. But you going into this series, that's one thing, to be the defending champion and have no pressure on you. All the pressure is on Oklahoma City. They're the ones that were in the Western Conference Championship last year against Dallas, and although they're the 2 seed, a lot of people are looking at them as the team that's going to come out of the West in the NBA Finals. So the pressure's on them, and that's a tough out. I expect them to win, but you're facing a team that's got a great experience and has won a championship before. But at Oklahoma City, obviously, you're looking at Durant and Westbrook, and how's Harden's health. That was a wicked shot he took from Artest, and he's back in. Can they gel in playoff situations, in late game situations, which they've struggled in? Getting that last shot, the shot that you want. But talent-wise, I think Ibaka and Perkins, if they find a way to get them some touches inside and get some paint presence, then I think they're on their way. So, but I think Oklahoma City, I should say, they're like a college atmosphere. That's what I call it. It's like going to an Oklahoma State game, but I expect them to take that next step into the semifinal.
Yeah, you mentioned James Harden and his health. I think he's going to be a key component to the series. If he's back and playing fully recovered, that's going to help them a lot. We saw in the game versus the Lakers where he sustained the injury, once he went out, we saw kind of a return of the bad Russell Westbrook. He took a lot of shots, forced a lot of shots because that key reserve scoring off the bench wasn't there. So if he's back and in full force,
because he not only can score, he's the closest thing they have to a playmaker, point guard,
Right.
kind of a point forward, and allows Rorsbeck to kind of roam a little bit and hunt shots. And he's going to hunt shots anyway, but you got somebody else that's going to get the ball. Plus, he can get a 20 off the bench as well. And he's that third, quote-unquote, star. He's kind of like Ginobili.
Right.
He doesn't start, but he can get you 20 off the bench and really light it up in a hurry.
all righty. The 3-6 matchup, we got the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Denver Nuggets. I got a buddy at the Denver Post, Ben Hockman. He said that he preferred this matchup versus the Lakers over the Thunder. Do you think Denver has any chance of winning?
I think that he is, because Denver wants to play at a certain tempo, and LA is a team that's going to be methodical, get the ball inside to the Twin Towers, and then obviously Kobe's a little bit older. I think Denver would prefer to get that game in the 90s, the 100s, and get those guys running a little bit. I think Ty Lawson is the key to that series, because he's the guy that's going to try to push the tempo. They're a team kind of like Philadelphia, no superstars, but they managed to do a nice job. They've done a good job since trading Carmelo and becoming a playoff team. Not good enough to win a championship, but a dangerous team. Gallinari can play. Kenneth Faried has really become a ferocious beast on the boards as a rookie. They got pieces. JaVale McGee gives them some length coming off the bench. And they got Al Harrington, a veteran who can score. Aflalo, he'll defend Kobe. So it's a team that I don't think they can beat the Lakers, but without Better World Peace and a little older team, they can give them. I think they can give them some problems. I expect LA to move on and use that size. They're the only team that's got that kind of dominance inside. We talk. Obviously Kobe, it goes without saying, but when you got Bynum, who's now emerging as an offensive star, and still Gasol, that's an advantage in any series that you go into. That you have to take advantage of, not only the scoring, but their length, their shot blocking, their rebounding, and then the sessions. I think that that pickup is. We'll see how big a dividends that's going to play, not only in this series, but should they get by Denver down the road.
Alrighty, and the last matchup, number 4 and 5, Memphis versus the Los Angeles Clippers. A lot of people expect this may be the most exciting matchup of this first round. Two evenly matched teams. Where do you see this one going?
I think you're right too, and that is because those are two teams that are really trying to find some kind of traction in the league. Memphis made a dent last year, knocking off San Antonio. It had that great 7-game series with OKC in the Western semis, but this year they had Zach Randolph was injured much of the year, trying to get back, and they hope if he can get that kind of production that we saw. He was a dominant player last year, but now Rudy Gay is back. Gasol. So if you got those three going together, that's one of the best front lines going in the conference, in the playoffs. And that's a team that wants to play it slow, get the ball inside. Wells, the Clippers, who have been trying to become relevant forever, they got the guy to make them relevant. CP3, Chris Paul is amazing. I think he's going to control the series. And obviously Griffin, I think he's one of the top power forwards, but I think they're gonna bang him around a little bit, put him on the free throw line. They don't want to get those highlight reel dunks, and I think they'll put him on the free throw line a little bit. But this is gonna be an exciting series as well. I think not having Chauncey Billups and that veteran leadership hurts, but they got Mo Williams, Randy Foy's playing well, shooting the ball, and Nick Young, who they traded for from the Wizards, can give him some perimeter scoring. And Crown Butler's had a good year as well, so I think it's going to be the more speed, but against the methodical inside power of Memphis. This is probably one that can go the distance this series.
And why are the Clippers so, it seems like they're either great or they're bad. There's really not a lot in between. So what can they do to play at that high level as opposed to the times when they struggle?
March they were so bad. They couldn't defend anybody. And I think in the NBA championships, if you won championships, you got to defend. I think you got the ingredients. Obviously, you got the point guard. You got the first top 1 or 2 point guards in the league. And I think if he has his A game, they're right there. They're right there. You got inside guy in Griffin. Jordan is a great shot blocker. Their thing is focus. You got when you lose a Billups, you lose an anchor. A veteran anchor who's been there, who keeps everybody in line. Hey, this is what we need to do. Not having him, but I think they've adjusted and they've played well down the stretch. they've got the physical ability to go a couple of rounds, and I think that's the main thing. Your focus and defensively, and it looks like Vinny Del Negro's got things back on track a little bit because it looked like he was out the door in March.
Right,
it was really looking bad.
One game away.
Yeah, one game away. DeAndre Jordan's mama's tweeting about how bad the team is, and things were just going haywire. But I think now, I think there's a little lull too. But now you're in the playoffs now, and I think it's true for all these teams now who've had problems. Some have had injuries, some have had bickering. You know, even the Lakers have had their deal with Mike Brown and Bynum. But now it's the playoffs. It's winning time, trying to win championships, trying to advance. I think everybody's going to try to be on their best behavior, get on the same page because everybody knows what's at stake now.
All righty, and just to wrap it up, let's get your official picks for the series. Let's go back to the East. Chicago versus Philly.
Chicago.
And how many games?
Chicago in 5.
5, okay. Number 2-7, Miami and New York.
I'm going to go Miami and let's go. They go 6.
Okay.
New York, that could be a little more than I thought.
All right. Indiana, Orlando.
Indiana, I don't know if they're quite ready to sweep Orlando. I say 5.
All righty. Boston, Atlanta.
That will go distance, I think.
Okay, and you said Boston.
Boston,
right?
Boston,
Okay.
yes.
In the West, San Antonio and Utah.
I think San Antonio will sweep Utah.
All righty. Oklahoma City, Dallas.
I think OKC will go in 5. Take them in 5.
The Lakers and the Nuggets.
Lakers in 6.
Okay.
And that'll be, and then World Peace will be ready for the next series. That's what they want. They want 6 or 6 to be the perfect number.
Now, just a brief aside with that. When he comes back, assuming that they go to the second round, do you think we're going to see a more physical World Peace, or do you think he's going to be on his best behavior and maybe be a little cautious?
Oh, he's going to play his game because what happened then wasn't in the thing of the game. I think what happened was it was dumb what he did, but I think what was dumb what James Harden did to running his path after he celebrated.
Right.
Everybody knows Ron Artest isn't all there. And we always learned from school. There's always a crazy guy in high school or college that you go to. Well, don't mess with the crazy guy. Ever mess with the head. And I think that's the lesson that hopefully James Harden learned. Don't mess with the crazy guy. Right. You never know.
Right.
So hopefully I think everybody will be on their best behavior, but it's going to be a physical. All these series are going to be physical. That's just the nature of NBA playoff play.
Exactly.
Nothing to the hole. But it'll be watched. If those two match up in the second round, Commissioner Stern will be at the Staples Center in Game 1.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah. And the last matchup, Memphis and the Clippers.
Wow, that's the toughest one to call. I'm gonna go Clippers. I'm gonna go Clippers in 6 games.
Okay,
that's a tough one.
And what's the difference? Is it the star power? Is it having Chris Paul?
I think Paul, Chris
Paul.
Paul. I think, but that I'd go either way on that one. But I'd give Paul, and maybe the fact that the Clippers, their opportunity to. But maybe I don't know. You ask me tomorrow, I might go Memphis. But I'm gonna go Clippers on that one.
All righty. Well, that is our NBA preview. Again, I'm Ishmael Sistrunk with the St. Louis American and STLAmerican.com. I have Earl Austin Jr. with me. Earl, how can the people get in touch with you?
Oh, they can get in touch with me. Go on EarlAustinJr.com, my basketball website, celebrating the past, present, and future of St. Louis basketball. And of course, they can read me every Thursday in the sports section of the St. Louis American.
All right, and you can follow me on Twitter in the Clutch STL. Thanks a lot, Earl.
Thank you. Oh yeah, Twitter as well. I'm just getting into the Twitter age myself. Thank you.
Good deal.